Silencers, cell phones. Go call meeting order, please stand for the pledge, remain standing for a prayer by catching the door.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Come before the Lord, he says, with clean hands and a pure heart, to pray for all these areas which the village council will be making tonight, decisions, Lord. We thank you for the continued success of our school sports teams, especially Champions Michigan in bowling. Thank you also for the arrival of the much-awaited and very popular country market. Pray, Lord, you said that we can make our requests known to you, and we do that tonight. All those requests on our hearts, and as well as those we speak out. We pray for much needed treasure in our village. Give our council your discernment and wisdom as they make that choice, and also decisions on all their business tonight. We continue to pray for the economy, the well-being of our village, for your protection, Lord, upon all who live and work here, families, first responders, medical, fire, police services, in this village and its entire surrounding area, looking for your blessing upon our time. We pray for comfort for families that have lost any loved ones recently here in Blissfield, but also thinking of Union City, Three Rivers tonight. Let's remember them in a moment of silence. Lord, we pray also for a long-term solution to the Iranian crisis, great wisdom and caution on the part of all those who are working for the liberation, really, of the Iranian people. Finally, tonight, Lord, thank you for the good things that America has stood for as a nation as we approach the 250th anniversary. May we as individuals and a nation renew our commitment to put you first as that city on a hill which John Winthrop in 1630 described many years ago, as we seek first your kingdom and your righteousness, that everything else we need will be added onto us. And I thank you, Lord, that I'm a very pleased American tonight. I've been for 14 years. So bless the meeting tonight, Lord. Bless all the decisions, the discussion, and everything that's happening for your glory and for the welfare and good of the people of Blissfield. Ask it in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. Thank you, Lord. Wonderful night. Did
you see the bridge colors yet? We did the bridge colors for you. Hope you noticed there.
What was that?
You didn't notice the train bridge and the arch bridge yet? Okay. Take a look tonight when you drive past it.
I live right beside it.
Thanks.
Have a great night. Notice that.
Garrison.
Okay.
All right. Let's start out, Lisa. Roll call.
Mike Gunner, Wendusa,
Here.
Bill Gritzmaker,
Here.
Sherry Luce, Ken Nichols,
Here.
Eric Rogers,
Here.
Timothy Waters.
Present. And minutes from previous council meeting.
Move to approve the minutes of February 23rd, 2026 as represented. Support.
Motion Ken, second Bill to approve the minutes of February 23rd, 2026 as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Now, Lisa, call roll.
Gwen,
Excuse me. Yeah.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Mike.
Curious, presentations and communications. Daniel, anything?
I just have one announcement that I wanted to share with you guys and let you know that we have hired a Parks and Recreation Program Coordinator. Taylor Gooden is planning to start this Thursday. She will also be at our Parks and Rec Board meeting tomorrow. So we are super excited to welcome her to the team and looking forward to working with her.
Great.
Here.
Great. Moving on. We have to approve tonight's agenda. We did have a request from council member, that we do move unfinished business towards the end. That would be regular session if everybody's okay with that. This afternoon business, okay?
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Motion Bill, second hearing to approve the agenda as amended. Needs to call roll.
Tim,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Gwen.
Yeah.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill, Mike.
Carries. Moving on. First round of public comments or anybody who does care to address council. Looks like no, we'll move on. You'll have a second chance if you wish. We'll go on to new business. Up first, we have payroll.
I move to approve accounts payable for the period of February the 11th, 2026 to March the 10th, 2026 in the amount of $415,215.06. Oh,
Yeah,
I apologize. Yeah, my apologies. Move to approve the payroll register for February 2026 in the amount of $126,283.90. Got the right one. Thank you.
Support.
A motion, Gwen, and second Bill, to approve the payroll register for February 2026, in the amount of $126,283.90. Questions or comments on payroll? And now Lisa, call roll.
I just want to say really quick for the people I didn't catch, the MERS payments are delayed from February to March because they're updating their system. And I couldn't pay February's until it's done, and that's the end of March. So just FYI, they'll be a little higher next month because they'll include February's.
Please clarify minutes. We'll call roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Gwen, Mike.
Yes. Aries. It's payable.
How about I do this one here? All right. I'll move to approve the accounts payable for the period of February 11th, 2026 to March 10th, 2026 in the amount of $415,205.06.
I'll support.
Motion, Gwen, second Eric, to approve accounts payable for the period of February 11th, 2026 to March 10th, 2026, in the amount $415,205.06. Questions on the bill? Nope. Only one I had was page one, Danielle, for the AccuLevel and the mechanical service. That's after the gasoline repairs was hit or
So what,
failed, so.
yeah, what we did because AccuLevel's accounting, they said it would be easier this way. So I invoiced them. So we had already paid Blissfield Heating and Plumbing, and then we had the invoice from Adrian Mechanical. So we paid them, invoiced AccuLevel, who paid us back and reimbursed us, and then we paid what we owed them, because I guess their accounting won't let them reduce the contract. But they did take responsibility and paid both Adrian Mechanical and the Blissfield Heating and Plumbing. So I think it was like 1927 and some change, if I remember correctly.
Thank you. Anyone on the right side? All right, please call roll.
Bill,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes, carries. 3, garbage bag tag agreement removal. And I'll let you go over this one.
Yes, so I reached out to Stevens, and Kevin from Stevens is actually here. So if we have any questions for them, he will be the best person to answer on like any technical or their side of things. But they reached out, our bag tag contract and our recycling contract both expire this year. We had previously talked about this at a committee of the whole meeting. When we talked about if we wanted to go with a single hauler or kind of what we were looking at, and based on the direction at that meeting, we elected to move forward with not renewing the recycle contract. The recycling service will still be available to our residents, but instead of it funneling from us to Stevens, they'll just work with Stevens and or any other company they choose to directly. But we did want to consider renewing the bag tag agreement. The agreement is for the most part pretty similar to what we had previously. I did propose a few just verbiage just to make it read a little bit more clear. And then the last two sections our attorney did ask to have added. You guys have in front of you a clean copy of that because I did share it with Kevin, who him and his staff reviewed it. We're good with those. So I didn't want you guys to have to navigate through all of the markups. And then I did put right in the packet, right on your agenda, the increases over the 5-year period, because that is probably maybe not the most important, but maybe the part that has the greatest impact, and of course the biggest change as well. So it goes from year 1, 475 to year 5, 675, and this is per tag. We do bundle in packs of 10. So when you come buy a back tag, you're buying 10 at a time. And we would continue that practice unless you guys direct us
And
otherwise.
no decrease in tag speed when they buy a group of 10, just simply the 10 times 475.
Correct.
That's
Yes.
what, no discount for the pack of 10.
Correct.
For the current price.
$28 per 10. So it'd be. It's actually $275 to Stevens. We do charge 50 cents for 10 tags. And that money is because we bundle them and the payment for it. So it's just meant to offset the minimal time that staff does spend. But again, that's 50 cents over the 10 tags, not per year. So I'll make sure that's clear.
Does this price kind of imply that people wants to get out of bed out of it?
No, it's basically, first off, thank you for having me tonight. And just Stevens appreciates that we've been handling your services since 2012. And it kind of says that we have a pretty good working relationship and we do value that. But basically the biggest impactor on this in 2021, when we did your last agreement, we were paying right at about $30 per ton in disposal. We're in excess of $50 per ton now. So a 65% increase over that 5-year term. We're basically right now kind of at a break-even point on picking up your trash. So we're not even at a break-even point. We're spending a little bit of money. So that's the biggest impact. Obviously, COVID prices on your equipment and things like that. A lot of that was factored in the last time. There's a little bit that's there as well. At that point in time, starting to come out of COVID, a new truck to replace the truck, you were looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 250, 275,000, depending on the truck. Now those are 375 to just under $600,000. So those are the real two huge impactors, but the disposal is the one that's hit us the most. So we're just basically getting you to a point where we can continue to make that small profit that we need to continue to replenish our equipment. And so that's the big driver, right? There's just the disposal side of it.
I currently am not a toter. I use bag tags,
Yeah.
so I don't know how much a tote costs per month or per quarter.
I think the toter for you guys is $75 a quarter. And that option is still there. It's still, you've got about 140, I think, roughly, maybe 570 folks out of your 1,400, I think it is, that are using the toter program, but the bigger percentage. And you know, we realize you have a higher percentage in a lot of communities of aging than folks on, you know, Social Security. And so that's, yeah, when I went to them, because there are a lot of communities that were just not in that area of demographics, so we've done away with it. But our intent was not to propose it. If that's the direction you want to go, we'll go. But I'm getting the drift with talking with Danielle and the community, that's not an avenue. It's beneficial for those folks.
They
that are
definitely.
on social security and kind of that fixed income type of situation, that it works out better than, they may only have a bag every other week. So that's a considerable discount versus paying that total fee.
Okay, will that total service increase also?
Not at this time. That rate that we were at right now is it's good.
So that's 75.
It's either 75 or 78. I'd have to look, because that's a subscription side. I deal with the municipal side. So it's one of the two. It's not over $78, let's say that, per quarter.
Okay. Thank you.
You explained it, so that was the reason for the $2 increase, the amount per tonnage as well as.
That's our biggest contributing impact. Yes.
Appreciate you being here, because obviously just reading through this, it's kind of disappointing, and it's much like water rates with us. So people, until you hear the explanation, it doesn't really make sense. You think doubling this kind of stuff, it gets a little frustrating. But I totally understand that your business, you need to make money, etc. Comparable to other municipalities around us that you serve, do you do the bag take system, or do you only do toters? Or
There are very minimal. Madison Township is still using a bag tag, and just south of them,
do you know offhand?
the township.
Fairfield?
Yeah.
Well, it's that area. Yes.
Here.
Fairfield. Thank you.
There you go.
Do you know offhand what they pay? Are they the same rates? Are they different? Or
575.
my only concern with the long-term agreement is, are we looking at other options? Do we go, open it up to this free service, or, free for all that you residents handle yourself? My concern about locking us in for this many years is that does it give us an out if we want to search for other alternatives in garbage collection?
So there is an out. No, it's with cause. We have now, which I don't know that we would have that.
I can.
And then,
I was gonna say, if you determined at a point that you were creating an ordinance for one hauler and putting it out for bid, then that ordinance would receive the situation. Obviously, we would be interested in bidding, but once you do that, every household in your community is going to be judged the same, whether they're senior or not senior, one bag every other week or 5 bags a week. So it's.
And then I know you probably had discussions with Danielle on that potential, if we've looked at, we thought during budget time, et cetera, what we want to do, if we want to expand the program, reduce it, how we want to do recycling, et cetera. So, I'm just not sure that.
Because we spent that committee the whole time discussing that.
yeah, we did, and I had reached out to them prior to that meeting, as well. The other, you guys can propose an amendment to reduce the years too. Obviously, I don't know if that's something you guys would have to review, or you think you'd be in favor, instead of it being a 5-year, it could be a 2-year or whatever. Again, I've obviously not run that other than right now, but
Typically, we don't go less than a 3-year agreement, and that's pretty industry standard. But currently, the industry standard now is a 5-year agreement. So, and that's just basically because if we're looking at, we need to put a new truck into your community, we need to know that we're covered with that. That truck, and 2 years later, now we've made that investment, and we're not. So that's why everybody, it's just because of the cost and the impact on.
It's the turnover of the 5-year from 21 to 26. Obviously, that's where 475 is coming in. When we take a look at year 1 to year 2, 3, 4, and 5, 525 to 575 to 625, those are very incremental. That makes sense. And I'm sure that when 2031 comes around, it'll be another big whopping $2 jump, because that's what things will have.
It all depends on what
Nope.
state and government
I'll
does
just be real.
landfills, and it's right. That's basically our projection on where we see things going. There were some things that changed statewide and federally that
Don't think
impacted
it's
some landfills through this last term, but fortunately, the $5 per ton charge that Governor Whitmer wanted to put on in 23 failed, and it hasn't come back up yet, but that would have been a major impact to every citizen of the state. So
But this wouldn't be exclusive, correct? I'm not seeing that to where if we did seek other options or open it up, it's not gonna cause any issues.
Well, potentially with that ordinance, it would.
Right, but
Yeah,
right now, we could say, hey, somebody else come in here and give us a quote, and the residents make their choice, right? They can pick and choose.
the residents, yes, they can use, the residents can use whoever they would like. They would get their pricing. We would not for them. The way it is right now, it's completely open market. If Republic, for example, or Waste Management is willing to come in and pick up your trash, the customer can call them and use whomever. Or Siemens or whoever it is. And we talked about this a lot at that committee of the whole, and I know it's been a little bit, so I think some of the, just, I guess as a refresher, some of the concerns when we talked about going to a single hauler at that time, I think maybe the biggest concern is that we have a good amount of our population that were using bag tags, and that we were concerned that it was going to save the population who aren't, but it would cost more for the population that is. And our concern was that that was greater increase to more than it would have been a savings. So we kind of elected not to. I think eventually that this is not going to make sense. So if you calculate the $78 that you pay if somebody were to get a toter service, and you break that down per week, it's $6.50. So if you are generating more than one bag of trash, it is more cost effective for you to get a toter service. So eventually, I think the bag tags are just going to be to a price that it doesn't make sense to offer that. I don't know if we're there yet. I think, it's speculation, I don't know this. I think at this cost, we're probably going to see a decrease in the amount of people that purchase. I don't know if then on the flip side, that increases their toter subscription. I don't know that. Well, obviously, that's something we can talk about later, but we're at like that kind of weird spot right now where I don't know that not renewing this is in our best interest. I don't know that renewing it's kind of just like I said, we're kind of in that, I don't want to call it the sweet spot because it's not really that sweet. Yes.
But I do understand how the bag tag gives the appearance that they're locked in, because there's nobody else offering bag tags. So I get that, I get that point. But that's, but I agree with you, Daniel, that at some point this will probably be phased out and it becomes cost prohibitive. In addition for you as well, because otherwise you'll continue. If not, you would raise the price.
Yeah, it's
So I get it.
yeah, you're I mean, obviously this to the toter side of that at some point will increase as well. It has to, everything, but whether the two meet at some point, like you said, it's that work.
You go from one man on a truck, two for bags though, right? I mean, a toter.
Correct.
One person can.
Yeah.
Handle that.
And so you're right. And again, the bag tags, you're we're not looking for the bags in the tag.
Yep.
We know the people that pay us, so that routing is straight. So it's a less cost impact from that also.
Well, not trying to tangent too far out, but then regarding recycling, so we've seen less and less that is able to be recycled. I guess two questions. Number one, you heard the rumor that recycling is just dumped literally with the garbage.
It
That's
is not.
completely false. I just
All
want
of
to
your
get that.
recycle is taken to recycle Ann Arbor and Ann Arbor.
And then I guess the point of, we used to be able to do pots and pans and glass, et cetera, but the diminishing, the less that you would take for recycling is kind of frustrating on our end as well. Again, produce more garbage, trying to think green, what's the cause behind that?
That's just driven by the processor. It's
What they take, what they don't.
those items that they used to let come in ended up in the landfill anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, they're just looking at anything they can cut out of that process of, because we're bringing it in, paying them, and then they're paying us to haul it away and roll off boxes. So yeah, a lot of that is just material
That's
that's
true.
technically not recyclable, unless you break it down to it. And in those sort of facilities, they don't have somebody that's taking the handles off those metal pots. They don't have, and some of that stuff has been refined to the point that it's not usable anyway. So it's just, the coatings and the different things. So yeah, it's what we take now is driven by the processor. And that's again, keeping that cost impact. But just to give you an idea of the difference between landfill and, I was just in a negotiation with our recycling and our processor. We're at $125 a ton compared to close to 55 on trash. So
What's most important, right, to you?
well, it's just
People how they want to do it.
yeah, and that affects the consumer. So
That's- Well, very informational. Appreciate the transparency and the openness. I think the public, again, hopefully the newspaper will look at that and say, this is exactly why. And the explanation is there. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, motion. Second for I move forward with that.
Move to approve the renewal of the bag tag agreement with Stevens Disposal for a 5-year term as presented and authorize the village administrator to execute the document on behalf of the governing body.
I'll support.
Motion Eric and second Gwen to approve the renewal of the bag tag agreement with Stevens Disposal for a 5-year term as presented. And authorize the village administrator to execute the document on behalf of the governing body. Anything further? Good, thanks for your time, Kevin. Lisa, call roll.
Tim,
yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Gwen.
Yeah.
Eric,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carries, moving on. We have the consideration for a letter for introduced bills regarding the loss of local zone control. That Village Clinton is putting on. Danielle.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
So I had emailed council some information that came out from Michigan Municipal League regarding some bills that were introduced specific to zoning. And a couple days, I think, after I sent that, the Village of Clinton shared a letter that they sent to their representative. So I forwarded that. It's also in the packet for your reference. But I asked you guys if it's something you want to consider sending from the whole board. So it is on the agenda for consideration. So just kind of a refresher, and for those who obviously didn't see the email that went to you guys, some of the changes that are being talked about are the lot size and dwelling minimums. They are, the state level is looking at prohibiting communities from requiring lots that are larger than 1,500 square feet and as small as 500 for dwellings. They're looking at parking mandates. They are also looking at accessory dwelling units and mobile homes, and allowing mobile homes to be used for accessory dwelling units. And then some changes to setbacks as well. So currently, the way that zoning is regulated, it's done so at a local level. So each community has the ability to set their zoning regulations and what they want to see for their community. And the state is looking to supersede that. So obviously, if they adopted this, then we would be required to follow suit regardless of what local authorities want. So options for you guys, we can do nothing. You as individuals can reach out to your state representatives. Any of our residents can reach out to state representatives and share any concerns or questions or support or whatever it is that you're feeling. If you as council reach out individually, you're able to do that. What you cannot do though is represent the whole council. It would have to be you yourself as an individual or a resident. And then the other option would be that we do something similar to Clinton, and we have done this in the past where we've had a resolution or proclamation, or we've submitted a letter as a collective whole. Completely up to you guys. I did not draft anything new. I thought Clinton's letter was very well drafted. If you guys want to send a letter, I would put this on our letterhead. Obviously, I would update to say the Village of Blissfield and make sure that there was things that made us, not Clinton. And I would recommend that Mike sign it as the president if you guys choose to move forward as a whole, because he is kind of the head of the body or would sign official documents. But again, completely up to you guys. If you have questions, let me know. I don't know. These bills are just introduced. They're enough to make it on the floor for consideration. I don't know how much support there is. I am going to continue following them regardless of what you guys decide tonight, and will regardless keep you updated.
I thought the letter was very well written and the points laid out very clearly, and I thought I agree with it, and I personally think we should do the same thing. Thank you too.
Move council to submit a letter regarding the newly introduced Michigan zoning legislation using the Village of Clinton's format on Blissfield letterhead, and authorize the village president to sign the letter on behalf of the governing body.
Support.
Motion Tim and second Bill to submit a letter regarding the newly introduced Michigan zoning legislation using the Village of Clinton's format on Blissfield letterhead. Authorize the village president to sign the letter on behalf of the governing body. Discussion.
There's significant movement by other communities against it as well.
Yes, I would say all of my interactions with other communities are strongly opposed to this. I would say generally communities are typically opposed to anything that takes away their local jurisdiction.
I would add that we send it to Senator Bolino, right? Like our representative.
Yes, we will send it to our listed our Clinton's representatives. We will send it to Senator Bolino and Nancy Vinganzarno as well as our representative, and make sure that they get it.
And if it were just myself to send it, I would like to see, that we potentially unanimously voted, or we all sign it. Again, I think things and numbers spell a lot, say a lot, so that would be my only request.
Not opposed to you all signing it. If you want to do, you really don't need the village president to sign on behalf because you are the governing body. So I would just, I guess, before you vote, see if there's a friendly amendment just to remove that portion of the motion if you're all going to sign, but completely up to you guys.
Either that or unanimous, just, some pages to say that.
I'm either way, either way is fine with me.
Strong feeling.
It'll be done quicker if you just sign it.
Okay.
I'm waiting for us to schedule and come.
Tim, good with that?
Yes.
No. Yes. Okay. All right. If there's nothing further, Lisa, call roll.
Eric,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carries. All right, number 5. Got a request from Danielle to merge and close our some utility accounts. Danielle, I'll turn it over to you.
So I am asking council to approve this resolution, which would allow me to merge our water and sewer bank accounts and then close point and pay. If you guys approve this, this is not something that'll happen tomorrow. I will also not be able to do them at the same time. I would have to merge the water and sewer and then at a later date, close point and pay, make sure everything clears. I obviously have been reconciling the bank accounts and doing some of the treasurer responsibilities. And what we're doing now is not wrong. I want to be very clear, we are not doing anything wrong, but it is a little bit more labor intensive than we could be doing it. And I would like to streamline that. And I think with us being in transition right now is the perfect time to do it so that when we get a new treasurer started, it's kind of a clean slate. They're ready to go. They don't have to worry about this kind of thing. But the reason I want to combine these, I guess, just for some clarification, is when we're processing our entries and things like that, we have to hit both accounts, and sometimes we will have a credit to water and a debit to sewer, and then we can't clear those without doing a manual journal entry. And if they were one account, we would be able to clear those a lot easier. So we would still, water and sewer funds would be completely on their own as they are now within general fund. It would just be the physical bank accounts that are together. So I do want to be clear on that the account structure won't change. So it would be similar to what we do already with our pooled savings account. It's not really a savings, but our pooled account, which is general fund, DDA, streets, parks and recreation. All of the money's in one bank account, but we have our separate funds. We maintain separate fund balances for all of those, and we track it separate. It would be the same. There's no requirement from the state of Michigan that our water and sewer accounts have to be physically separate. I did also reach out to USDA just to ensure there was no concerns with us having the USDA loan at the wastewater plant. They said they do not care as long as our general ledger shows them separately, but physically at the bank, they don't care how that looks. And I did talk to Heather, with Manor Custarian, who is helping as needed with treasurer duties. I've been having some trouble, and I reported this with bank reconciliations. So she looked at this and she said that we have too many bank accounts and recommended making this change as well to streamline things. So that's what I'm hoping to do with the water and sewer. Now, point and pay is a little bit different but connected to this. So point and pay is the program that we use for credit card payments. So whether the credit card payment comes through online banking or here at the village office, it goes into a point and pay account. That point and pay account is actually, it's not held by us, their credit card processor. It's held by them until that credit card transaction actually fully clears. Once that transaction clears their system, then they transfer that money into our point and pay bank account. And then from there, I have to, or the treasurer, has to balance that point and pay account, make the transfers into the appropriate funds. Point and pay is set up that they already know if I make a water payment or a utility payment, let's say online, they already know what dollar amount goes into sewer and what goes into water, and they will directly transfer into whatever fund it goes to instead of having for us to actually go in there and balance and manually do it. So it'll just feed it right into the correct account. Or if I use a credit card to pay for bag tags, it'll go right into that pooled savings account, and it takes out that step of us having to go in and manually transfer and account for all of that. Obviously, we still account for it in our systems. We'll still balance it in our bank account. It just kind of cuts us out of the middle step. It also saves time because then we're not reconciling that bank account every single month as well. So again, that would be the streamline. I would not do that until we have our bank accounts combined and everything set up. So that when I work with them, it'll go into the correct new account or however that's established. But I did talk to Blissfield State Bank about this. They would require a resolution for me to move forward with it because we do require a resolution to open this account. If you have questions, let me know. I hope that makes sense.
Explanation.
I talked about a lot of things that probably you're like, I don't care, but I just want to make sure you guys know why we do this.
The efficiency is the key.
Yes.
There's no two ways about that, Danielle. And the timing is like you stated, it's appropriate. This is the time to do it.
Move to adopt the resolution as presented, authorizing the merger of the water and sewer bank accounts into one utility fund bank account and the closure of the point and pay account, and authorizing the appropriate village officials to execute all necessary documentation to implement the consideration.
Consolidation.
Yeah, sorry, consolidation.
Sorry.
Of support. So consolidation.
Motion Bill second Tim to adopt the resolution as presented, authorizing the merger of the water and sewer bank accounts into one utility fund bank account and the closure of the point pay account, and authorizing the appropriate village officials to execute all necessary documentation to implement the consolidation. Questions? Anyone? Thank you, Danielle. Lisa, call roll.
Gwen,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Tim, Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carries. Number 6. Requested replacement of the air unit at the water treatment plant. Got the high bid 62,177, low bid 32,307. Quite a ways below budget. Yeah, look here.
What is you brought this up?
It was, up in the background brief, that's all it was. And there's just a transposing of a couple numbers in the Shoemaker heating quote of 32,370, but the quote is actually for 32,307. That's all. That's all. And the lower price of 32,307 is the actual
It's the correct.
price on their quote.
Move to approve the replacement of the basement air unit by Shoemaker Heating and Plumbing for the quoted price of $32,307.
I'll support.
Motion Bill, second Gwen to approve the replacement of the basement air unit at the water treatment plant by Shoemaker Heating and Plumbing for the quoted price of $32,307. Further discussion.
I forgot, did he have a timeline? I forgot if it was him or somebody else.
He did not have a lead time.
Okay.
26 years, not too bad.
Yeah.
Of that. Anything else? Any questions? All right, Lisa, call roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Gwen.
Yeah.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carries. Number 7. Discussion again, DPW potential relocation. Or neither got Danielle or both here to talk about.
Yes, so before we get into this, I do want to, I guess, briefly share some things. So we did talk about a possible site. They did make an offer to us with an amount to purchase it. That site, it is, I would say we need to be cautious and not share that site because one, if we decide to move forward and talk about it, then potentially we will want to talk about price and negotiations. And 2, if we decide not to move forward, we don't want to impact any future buyer. The other thing is we do, when we're talking about things tonight, we may talk about an interested party at our current DPW site. They do not want to be public at this time, especially with us not having an exact plan on how we want to move forward. So we are not going to be using names when we are talking about things, and I would appreciate if you guys would be considerate of those things as well. So we did talk to you guys about a potential site. So this is depending on how the discussion goes. We're here for any questions that you may have, but I have maybe a 2-part question. I think the first thing that we need to talk about is I did not get really clear direction when I had reached out to council about this potential site. So we want to bring it up tonight because I do need some clear direction if we are interested and we want to move forward and have some discussions or not. If we are not, I need to let the property owner know so that we can be fair to them and they can move forward in a different direction. If we say yes, then we need to probably talk about what our next steps are with our current site, what our next steps are for further discussing what our offer is going to be on that property, etc. If it's no, then kind of my 2-part question to you guys is it just a no for that property and you still want to look and explore other alternate sites for the DPW, or is it this is no longer our goal? I just want to make sure. I think it's our goal. Again, I'm looking for clarification so that Laura and I have our marching orders so that we know what we should be doing, spending our time So I'm gonna kind of go back to the first part of this because I think that will kind of direct some of the conversation and see, is there an interest in this property, or are we feeling like this isn't quite the one and we need to keep looking at other sites?
I'm gonna ask a question, and I hope it doesn't sound so crazy naive. Isn't it gonna be a little difficult to talk about the property?
Yes.
I mean, and I'm not trying to sound smart. Is this where we would go into a closed session since we are talking about a property, or is it not something we're allowed to do?
We're not eligible to go into closed session under state statute because we are not in negotiations on that property and an offer's been extended. So we're in a little bit of a crossroads with this one where we gotta be sensitive and we don't wanna hide anything from the public, but we wanna be respectful of these other individuals.
Exactly.
But we don't, it doesn't meet the requirements.
That's what I was curious, yes.
Now, if you guys say we want to move forward and we want to talk about what an offer would be, or right, then it would fall under closed session regulations.
We have to make the first decision first. Yes.
Yes,
Before we go on to that next part.
yes,
And the first part does not qualify.
right. And I guess I did not include this, and I maybe should have. I did put a little bit of information in your agenda, so we did reach out to MEDC. Laura and I talked to them last week, right? And they indicated that they don't have grant funding available right now, but they had talked about a economic development TIP program. And what an economic development TIP program would allow us to do is, if our current site were being developed and would bring in some kind of economic growth, we would have to front load whatever payments or money go out, and we could recuperate it by having a TIP on that property with increased value. Another community did this. They funded a $40 million project through an economic development TIP. The site that was developed got a brand new hospital. So the investment in that property value skyrocketed. So they were able to front load it and then fairly quickly recuperate it. Depending on what's developed there, it's not going to be a hospital. We know that will depend on how quickly we would recuperate our money. We'll have an automatic increase because we're tax exempt and whoever develops would not be. But again, it could be minor to, again, we would have to know a little bit what they would do.
I am exploring some other grants and things that are also available throughout the state. But without some direction from you guys, we really can't.
During my site inspection, I thought that particular property kind of hit every requirement that we currently have for DPW. It's gonna take probably a little bit of renovation, but I thought it was a very ample property to what we need. That was my assessment.
You spoke of the tax implications. We would take, that property would come out of the tax rolls.
The new property would come out and then our old one would go in. So that's TIF funding would be funded by the old property. So it would be any increase in taxable value, and it has to be tied to development. So we would not qualify if we just sold it and nothing happened. There has to be development to qualify.
And what if it doesn't have development?
Then we have funded and will not recuperate any of our money. That's why we have to pay up front, and then once the development occurs, we would be able to collect that TIP revenue to pay it back.
In our goal setting that we had was, like me, I can't remember if this fell into anywhere, was it?
Yes, it is a specific goal. I was gonna include that in the agenda and I forgot, so I do apologize for that, but I can quickly pull that up.
Well, it's been on previous council's radar since the 80s, I know, so it's been discussed.
It's been
For
on council goals since at least 2021 when or 2022 when I did goals with you guys for the first time. I don't, obviously can't speak to before then, but so it's under goal number 1, objective 7, upgrade DPW facility or alternatively acquire property and move facility to new location. More specifically, review options, i.e. moving to a new site or adding alternate site, priority level 2.
I know we discussed that in over the past couple of years that I've been on council. Couple of things that I think about is I know we currently have our brush pickup goes out by the wastewater treatment plant.
Correct.
And the leads are picked up and they're dropped at a different location. One of the things that we had discussed about was consolidating or having a place large enough to be able to have all of that at one facility, so we could recycle the leaves because they do get turned over and composted. And also have an area to be able to burn that brush at, 3-month intervals or 6-month intervals, whichever was more appropriate for the amount that's collected. And I don't know if the proposed site has enough area to do both of those here.
So we wouldn't have to pay for the other site for the burning of them.
Right.
The lease.
There would have to be some, I think there'd have to be some discovery to figure out locations of things and that type of thing. I have some concerns only because I know we have some very large expenditures coming up. We have a walk bridge down here that is either gonna have to be replaced or incorporated that walking area into the 223 bridge at some point in the next few years. And I believe that the 223 bridge is scheduled for reconstruction in 28. Does that sound right to you, Daniel?
2032.
That's when 223 is gonna be completed.
The bridge, yeah,
That-
the bridge.
They have right now the bridge and the 223, basically from Jefferson all the way to High Street in 2032, the same. I don't think they're going to happen the same year, but that's how they have end up as a schedule right now.
And that also could move a year or two.
Correct,
either way,
that's not,
but not probably.
yeah, we'll probably know a little bit more on kind of scheduling, not the specific year, but if they would do those kind of together separate following our scoping meeting and work that's happening, but that's not set to kind of draft scoping, I think is set in June, if I remember correctly. It's supposed to be March, that's been pushed back. And again, that won't be a hard final, that's just going to be our preliminary numbers and information from MDOT.
Okay, I guess I was under the impression that the bridge was gonna be done prior to the 223 rebuild.
The driving bridge.
Yes, the driving bridge.
That was not our understanding.
Yeah, that's,
I spoke with Brent today at lunchtime, and that was the indication that he gave me, is that more than likely, not necessarily, but he indicated that the bridge would be reconstructed in 2028, somewhere in that time frame. Between
I
2028.
don't disagree with Brent that I think one, logically, I think probably the bridge will happen and then the rest of 223. They currently have them both slated in 2032. So, and I think they will, like, if, let's say the bridge goes first, then I think they want to come immediately behind and start the road. Again, we don't have the finals of that,
Right.
but I do know they're both in 20.
And I know we don't have any control over any of that,
Yeah,
other than we will have some expense with water and
yes.
sewer line replacement at the same time.
We will have expense with our service lines, our water and sewer, and MDOT does storm sewer. They actually will also pay a portion of the sewer, and we pay a portion. We have to pay all of the no, I'm telling you wrong. We pay all of the sewer. They pay a portion of water. We pay the other portion. We are responsible for all service lines, and they do storm sewer. We would be responsible for the removal of the existing pedestrian bridge.
Right.
They have indicated, and potentially more, they have indicated at this point that they would be willing to work with us to fund a sidewalk with the reconstruction or rehabilitation of the bridge now, which they would pay for, but again, that's not final. So I don't know exactly, but at a bare minimum, we would have to remove the existing pedestrian bridge.
Right. I mean, that would be ideal if they could incorporate a walking lane into the new bridge.
Yes.
So that would alleviate the issue of replacing that bridge with there.
Yeah, and that's how we're proceeding, because MDOT also needs, if they reconstruct that bridge, they need additional clearance. And they could get that easier to the south, whereas the north, there's the railroad bridge, and I don't think they're looking to try to work with the railroad to move the railroad.
Do we have any kind of an idea of what the water line replacement costs are gonna be for us?
We will not have any idea until the scoping is completed. MDOT is fully funding the scoping, and that does include what our anticipated cost is going to be.
Do we know?
I can tell you, I think what it's going to be, but I could be way off, but I think you're looking at 5+ million.
That's the number that I had.
That was kind of tossed around.
Yeah, I think that number was tossed around.
Yeah, and please do not hold me to that.
In
Um,
32, it could be 8 million. We don't.
Right,
know.
yeah, it could be more. You're right. And there's lead line replacement, if I'm not wrong either.
So we would
correct?
replace, that's, I mentioned the service lines, so
Sure.
we would replace all service lines down to 23, which again, we are 100% responsible for that. MDOT does pay a portion of the water main itself.
Right.
But they would not cover the service lines. Now, they would do the work, it would be all bid as a project to hopefully save us money, and the contractor's already in there, other than us trying to do it separate. But if the funding would come from.
Those are a couple of my bigger concerns, is the large dollar outlay that we're gonna have in the next 6 to 8 years. Probably. We don't currently have any money set aside for that project, I don't think.
We do not.
And I think I'm not trying to say that. I'll just say it, because it's gonna come out that way anyways. I don't think at this time that it is in our best interest to pursue this, because we are going to have some very large monies being spent over the next 6 to 10 years. We got that. We also have a few other things that I'm sure will come up between now and then. We have some projects that we want to complete out at the wastewater treatment plant with the lab upgrades and that type of thing. And there's oxidation ditches out there that need to be, we should have ideally in our plan that we worked up with, I can't remember the firm that helped us work on that, but there was a need for an additional oxidation ditch, because right now, if one of those oxidation ditches go down, we're in big trouble. We don't have enough capacity with one left to, do what we need to do with the current water situation we have, with the amount of water that's going out there at least. Those are the couple things, and I think those are in the area of $250,000 a piece, those oxidation ditches.
The oxidation ditch, I think, was actually 1.5.
1.5 million.
Correct.
So I'm like 3/4, I'm 10% of what it's gonna be. Or 50%, not even
I'm
that.
going off memory, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so I mean, there's potentially another $2 million out there between a lab and an additional oxidation ditch, if we end up going that route. We're talking about river erosion project that is in there as well, and that's gonna be a significant dollar amount, depending on which route it goes. I know that would all be done in phases, that part would be, but some of the things that we have to do within our infrastructure wise, within our own village, are gonna happen more than likely between now and 10 years from now. That's kind of where I'm at. In a nutshell.
So I think that's why, I know that's why I kind of said I have a 2-part question. It's one, yes or no, in investigating this current site. And if it's a no, then are we saying, should we continue spending time looking at other sites? Because I don't, we have plenty to do. If that's not your goal, then we don't need to find things to do. We can fill our time with things that you do actually want done and that are goals for you.
Between Danielle, Laura, and maybe Eric, been talking with, Brett today. Can we provide some specific needs, the DPW? I mean, I think I know. I would have, you know, what are they needing? What are we lacking? Help me, educate me to this of why we need to, and maybe
Well,
board.
it's the rest of everybody's opinion for
Well,
what.
I can come back,
Yeah.
let me come back to that.
Yeah.
Brett and I did discuss that as well. Some of the things that they may need.
I don't have an opinion until I hear, I'm educated.
Tim, what do you think?
I have some hesitation about the site. Without saying too much,
Well, I think the first question we have to answer is, do we wish to continue exploring the relocation of the site? I think that has to come first. The other thing I think we need to have, or we can't forget, is that we do a lot of things all at the same time, which you outlined very well, Eric. You did. You outlined them very well, the things that are coming up that face us. But at the same time, as we look, I think, even further into the future for our town, village, is what can we utilize and potentially maximize in order to attract people to come and live here. And the issues with the river, you are not wrong. That has probably been my greatest realization since being on council, is that we live and die by this river. It's our source of water, and it's an expensive source of water. And of course, we have to put the water back that we use. It's eroding into our infrastructure, into our roads. And there's the potential for us, I think, even considering the layout of the town because of it. But we also need to consider the attractiveness of the river. And with where the DPW currently is not to that advantage. It's not to our advantage in a desirable location. If we wish to utilize the river, we need to have access to it. And the best way to do that is to move the DPW. And I don't know, I don't have all the answers. I don't have any answers as far as for the best way of funding. But I think that if we don't move it in conjunction with other things that we are considering, if we continue saying next year, next 10 years, it probably will never happen. But if we can begin to put into process or get the wheels moving here on how do we maximize our use of this river to our whole town's benefit, we need to have access to it. And again, the DPW location prohibits our access to the river. It's connected to downtown. It's connected right off here at Main or 223 and Lane Street. Every other bit of property is private, and it is within our power to move it and try to begin maximizing now how to get full use out of that river as soon as possible. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't want us to lose vision of this while we're trying to decide where we put the money for all the other things that we do have to do. That's my thing. So I would say, to answer question number one, and Danielle, in our background brief, does council wish to continue exploring relocation of the DPW facility? My answer is absolutely. And then the second question is, should we further evaluate this identified site? If we don't answer number one, number two is irrelevant, and then 3 and 4 is already in. That's already in the direction that we're moving in that direction.
Personally, I think the discussed site would be better utilized on the tax rolls. I would like to see that continue or be used as potential business, commercial, industrial, something like that. That's what I would prefer. But, you know, again, to an extent, I agree with Eric on a lot of these further projects, but Ken kind of brought up that it becomes, you know, it's been a want or a dream since the 80s of how do we do this. But now it not only becomes of, you know, is there potential to offset some costs on selling that site versus helping us relocate, but also the needs and, you know, kind of starting with Gwen's question of what really do they need? We know they need more heated space. That heated barn, you go out there at the end of the day, that thing's chock full of vehicles and pickups and you've got the street sweeper that has to stay warm. We're gonna have the jet bag truck that's gonna have to stay warm, some of the, you know, the heavy equipment, that kind of thing. So that's one of the facts are that unfortunately we're just out of space. We need more heated space. So now it's become more of a, rather than just a want, but it is becoming now a need. So I agree with you, Ken. I don't want to just say we don't need to do anything, or we can't do anything right now. But we have to keep that on the back burner that we do have to come up with some sort of solution, whether it's there or not. Something needs to expand. And that's the truth. But on top of that, I think I would rather start with a clean slate and design something as we want to see it accomplished or how we want to see it grow. And I wholeheartedly agree on being able to, you know, if we're on the edge of town and we can burn out there, we're saving on the property leases, things like that. Again, we're, you know, 3 square miles, and we're not far from anything, no matter what people want to say. But I guess that's my 2 cents on this property versus continuing to look forward and to relocate that.
My only other thing that I would say is, if not now, when? And I think that our identified site has that potential. I don't know how to say other than this, if I can say this. To design from scratch will cost us more than what we could get currently.
I'm not sure I agree with that, Stephen.
I don't
Can
know.
I speak
I
to
was standing in it.
it? So I'm currently involved in a barn that's half the size of one of those spaces, and it's coming in at 470,000 for a smaller barn than that one. I just know construction costs because that's what I do, and we're looking at it to start from scratch tremendously more, tremendously than the current. And that's not the negotiate, you know, we haven't negotiated. But if I can, you know, you guys have a lot of things that you have to think about. Eric, I appreciate your point of view and your fiscal responsibility there. My job is economic development, excuse me, for this village, and to move our village into, I said this to Mike today, we have the potential where we're located to be the up north of Ohio. They go right past us, and they go to Tecumseh, and they go to Saline, and they go to Grayling, and they could stop right here and put their dollars right here. If we had a river with a livery, and, you know, and again, to Danielle's point, we don't know, we can't dictate what people are going to do with that site. You know, we have some interest. But I think that whether you choose this option or a different option, we've got to get that UPW. If we're going to propel this town, retail is very difficult to attract. Brick and mortar stores are hard to keep. We have to have a 2-pronged approach. We have to have experiences that people want to do in this town. We're opening a beautiful candy and soda fountain store here in June. We've got a lot of things. We have a beautiful grocery store. We have everything you can do in Blissfield. We need some outdoor activity. And that is the key. And you have identified it. You guys, I mean, they've known since the 80s, as Mike has said. they've known that that's the first thing you see when you come to those four corners is that ugly Quonset hut. That. I don't know who did that 50 years ago, put that there. But you know, from an economic development standpoint, again, obviously we have to have all of the infrastructure that Eric was talking about. I'm not negating that, but I think it can be a yes and. I think that whether you like this site, at least can we move forward and explore at your pleasure other sites. You know, my main goal is to get that. That's.
Has Brent seen the other site? Has he been to the other site and does he have a comment on that from his perspective? And does anyone know?
Brent has, repeat your question.
Has Brent been to the potential site and what are his thoughts if it would meet the needs?
Brent does have concerns with the potential site. I would not say that he is in favor of it. I don't want to speak for him, but and it sounds like Eric also talked to him, and you guys are also more than welcome to ask, but they do have needs for additional space. And I think Mike even talked about this a little bit with what's in the barn. We do currently lease property from Skates for a brush pile. We do have a different site for leaves. We don't currently compost. That's something Brent brought up to me last week about having some ability to reuse that. It's not something we're actively considering when looking. So I don't want to say that, and again, I hate speaking for people. I don't want to say Brent is opposed to relocating. I don't know that that's the spot he wants to go to. I understand. I mean, would that be fair based on this discussion?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's very fair. He indicated that there are potentially one place here within our own village, our own property that we own, of being able to house some of our other equipment, such as the back truck that's coming.
Which would mean not moving the DPW, but
Having a place to put it,
right.
which is out at our water treatment and building that's out there.
That's
Yeah.
short term.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Potentially that could be used for something else as well.
I agree with you a little, Laura. I mean, that is, again, it's the heart of our community as a whole. And it's totally underutilized. So, you know, again, these are, yeah, like Eric said, we're juggling a lot of projects and money, you know, needs. So it's, again, what's the best step in this? Obviously, if we could get a potential buyer for that property, that would help us offset construction costs or relocation costs. So maybe the first thing we do is look into.
So we do have somebody that's interested, but they would like to get an appraisal, which they cannot do if you're not willing to move forward. And if you're not willing to move forward, it would not be smart to get an appraisal. So those are it's like this domino effect of what you guys decide.
What if we were to go ahead with continuing evaluating? What is the definition of continuing evaluating the identified site? What does that mean?
Well, maybe I'll jump in here too. If you guys say this site is not what we want, but we're willing to move forward with some other sites if we can find them. And let me be very clear, those don't come around every day. Okay, the amount of land that you need for a DPW within the village, all of those buttons have to be pushed. So it's not like, you know, that happens all the time. But if you say, we don't like this site, but we would be open to another site, I still probably would not have this person get an appraisal because it wouldn't be worth, we'd have to redo it if a site didn't come available for another 2 years. You see what I'm saying? So, but I guess maybe, would you say the ability to get an appraisal if something should come available? Or would we come back to council again?
We would come back to council again. Well, so that, I think Laura is correct though, that if we're saying this isn't the site, but we want to continue looking, then we're just, if something comes up or, I mean, there's potentially a couple others that I don't have enough information to say that, but so we are going to continue exploring other options if this isn't the site, or if you guys say, no, we're done, we need to move on, then we're not gonna worry about
Right.
exploring those other options or possibilities. But it's kind of, I think, what we're looking for.
Okay, I'm now I'm ready to kind of get my 2 cents on the part is that, no, I'm in favor of continue evaluating, and I state this meaning, I would like to see, what needs to be done at the proposed site. What would it cost for the purchase? We think we have that amount. But then, what would need to be done to that site to make it quote, quote, DPW ready? I mean, I want to see the numbers.
We'll have to spend money to do that, though, that's definitely needed.
I guess in my little world, meaning could our building person go out there and say, this, and this, I don't need to have exact numbers, but if somebody could say to me, Gwen, it's gonna be 1.5 million, Gwen is gonna be 500,000, that gives me more of a look at things.
Truly, Gwen, that
Does
is
it make sense?
depends on what you guys want to do with the site. There's a lot of potential there. You can tear some of it down. There's a lot of things that I think really couldn't be answered unless you would say, let's move forward. Daniel, jump in if I'm what you're saying.
My moving forward is not as moving forward as it needs to move forward.
Well, I think that we need to.
I don't know that that's accurate, Gwen, because I think what Laura is saying is that it's not just yes, you accept site as is, it's.
No, I know that.
Yeah, in fact,
No.
we would not recommend you do that, but.
Not either. No.
But I think that's where, I think you guys need to decide, because we've already said, if you're interested in this site, we will have to cover the purchase cost at least. So are you willing to cover the purchase cost and talk about this as a potential site, or are you saying this just isn't the one for us? So that we can tell them this property owner so that they can do what they need to do, and then you can give us our direction on how to move forward otherwise.
How much would it cost us to go forward?
Well, I think that we want a site plan.
Give me an idea. How much are we talking there?
I'd have to go back and look at some notes. To
10,000 probably.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say yes, and then it would become up to you guys to say, what kind of renovations we want. To give you a number that we could do that. We have a base price. And Danielle and I both have been talking with our representatives, and there is some possibility of applying for some money from the state. Not this year, but next year. So there's some things in the works, but we really just need direction. Like, there's no sense in doing any of this if you guys are saying no. And we don't want to put $20,000 into a project that you guys are not in favor of. It's like
This is a good dialogue because it's always been talk about it, wish, we want to do this, but now we've got a little bit more wheels spinning where we're searching out grant funding for potential things like that. We're talking properties, being a little bit more proactive, I think, than just that sort of throwing out wish list. Again, for myself, I don't say again, chief, but for myself, I don't think it's the right property, but I certainly want to explore continuing the relocation, but also the reutilization, the rehabilitation of, again, that underused property that they're currently on. Because we're gonna have to do something regardless sooner or later. Again, we're out of space. It's just not an ideal location. There's more potential positive growth or something to do with that rather than just sit and be an underutilized site.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to the numbers. So where are these properties that you speak of?
Where are they? I mean,
Yes.
there's a few that are out there. You just
Well,
have to
I'm
discuss
not
it.
saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying, so if we're saying not this property, there will be another property. I mean, well, there might be, there could be, okay, there might be, there might not be, but
I know that councils before you have passed on some very good properties.
yes.
And,
Better properties.
well, I would argue that. Heartbreaking, actually, because if not now, when? So,
And
I
if not there, where?
I don't know.
That's
We
what
don't, and we don't know. I'm not saying that something couldn't come along, down the road. But we just don't, we don't have a crystal ball, we don't know. And I think personally, I think this site is very good. Has great potential, but it also has some limits. It's 5.5 acres?
You probably shouldn't.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm getting to, so anyway, I understand that it's not perfection. But neither is where we are. And I don't know what, like, I don't know, maybe Mike has some thoughts about a potential area that I'm not aware of. But
I mean, we've gone ahead and we've kind of talked off the cuff about some different areas,
well, we don't have millions of dollars,
No,
right?
Well,
now.
we also have funding to quote purchase what we discussed in the first place.
That's up to.
Because we can't just move and say we're not gonna invest anything more in, because as soon as we move, there has to be much more improvements to get them to operate the way they need to, on top of expand, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just buying and moving in like a house or even, it's not moving ready. There's things that need to be done.
There are things that need to be done. But my point is many, many less dollars would be spent renovating than building from scratch on a plain piece of property with nothing.
But we need the numbers to do that without some good numbers in front of us.
I think the council thought the same thing when they bought this building.
what do you mean by that?
Cheaper to renovate than it would be a build.
And you don't.
Not so much. We just like the location. It was a good price that we got it for.
Still was pretty expensive to get it back, get it to where it is now.
Laura, you said at one time when we started, when I was at a site survey, that there was potential MEDC grant funding out there. That was then. And then in this thing that says it's not available now, that doesn't mean it's not available forever. It's just not available
Correct.
from this time frame.
So I spent some time with our legislators last week and talking about this very project. And I also met with a couple of people at the state level through the NEDC who would be willing to help us find money. But they're not going to invest a lot of time in a situation that's not going to work. So I know that Danielle is this year our appropriations committee would not be available to us, but next year it possibly could be. These are the kinds of projects that our legislators want to bring back to our county. This is exactly the kind of project they want. They want to better our infrastructure, our municipality, our way of life. And then to open up that river is even, it brings tourism, all of those kinds of things that they're very interested in here in Michigan, all of those things. So this is it hits all the sweet spots for them. We just, like I said, not this site. I just need to know, are we still exploring? Or is this still a goal? So,
Daniel, do we have money in the general fund for the
initial layout.
the site survey or whatever?
Oh,
Is that what you call that? The $10,000-$20,000 for the site layout, is that what you call it?
Yeah, we could fund that. I think we could even fund the purchase, but nothing more than that. And then keep in mind, if you fund the purchase, you're not funding something else.
can I say,
But you're never funding everything.
No,
right.
Right.
If you guys say we want to move forward on this site, we can go into closed session and really hash out some things. Out here, I don't know that we want to do that, because of the things that Daniel
And
said.
I will tell you, I will caution you, do not just say, we want to
Yes.
explore to go into closed
No,
session.
that's right. We would have to be saying, we're going
Not saying you would, I just
No.
want to be clear.
or if you guys, yeah. If we're really kind of handcuffed here. So I just,
yes.
because we want to be very careful with our potential buyer and seller. So. Those are the handicaps we have to deal with. So a lot of. But thank you for clarifying that. You didn't mean that. You didn't mean that.
I just,
Oh, you guys need that.
Generally, a buyer would do the appraisal.
Yes.
But I think for under $1,000, I think we can get that DPW property appraised, and at least that gives council an idea of where we're at per number. I think that's the minimal starting point that we could be at. I'm certainly all for looking for other options, or, we gotta do it sooner or later. No, not when, so. But that would be a good first step, at least, to get an idea of where we're at.
I think so. No place is going to be perfect,
No.
but we're going to have to make it as close to perfect as we can with whenever we move to wherever we move.
I think first thing you would need a salt barn right away too, just little stuff that's not cheap. It adds up.
Can't move the salt barn.
But what we don't want to do is kill it before it has a chance.
Right.
And at the same time, we don't just want to say, yeah, and not have any caution. So I think it behooves us to move carefully, judiciously, but we need to move. Otherwise, we never will. And I mean, moving in the process. The process will never get.
I'm gonna make a motion so that we can, meaning, or make it. Okay, just so that we can have that discussion and we can make that. Okay, so I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna move to direct. My motion is to move to direct staff to continue evaluating the identified site potential DPW relocation. We'll get that out on the floor.
So we'll support it.
Okay, I've got a motion, Glenn, and a second, Ken, to direct staff to continue evaluating the identified site for potential DPW location. Now it's in now. That, please call roll.
I'm good. Eric,
No.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Gwen.
Yeah.
Mike,
No. Carries. You want to give direction? Like, what exactly does continuing evaluating the identified site mean? We want to talk with planning.
Priority, yeah.
If you're wanting to talk about like pricing and things that would affect our offer to them, yes, it would. You could go into closed session for that.
Discussion of money.
Yes, anything that would impact the purchase price.
Which would be like adding on, subtracting cost of.
Here, you want to do that tonight, or you want to do that at a specific point? I just want to make sure we're ducks in a row on this. We're talking, it would be for the sale or resale of property. So, I mean, we gonna talk numbers tonight, or are we gonna? You know,
I think we need to embrace them, but we need to know what we have.
But isn't that numbers that we can talk about in closed session?
Well, that's just what if numbers. That's the thing. We're just talking about what if.
So what if numbers
Assuming we
about
gather the. And then bring.
Yeah, so we can go into closed session to consider the purchase or lease of real property up to the time that an option to purchase is obtained. So if we're negotiating what we want to offer, we can go into closed session. I don't know that we're prepared with the information to do that tonight. So I think the direction, I mean, we can gather as much as possible. If you're wanting us to do something more than just gather information, get an appraisal, then you could make that motion in open, which you would have to do coming out of closed session anyway. So if you're looking for something more than us saying a site plan will cost this much, this is how much they're asking for the property, this is how much an appraisal will be, we think whatever amount, I'm trying to be a little bit limiting, but
I thought we wanted to talk a little more specific, but that was the closed session portion of it. That's why I'm saying I want everything to be visible, transparent. That's not what I'm saying. I thought if we were talking specifically about monies with those properties, so that those names could be discussed.
well, you are correct, Gwen. I'm just saying that I don't know that we're gonna have all the answers.
No,
for
I
you
don't
if we
expect
go
that.
into closed session tonight.
No, I don't expect any of those.
I would agree, but I think we have to do a little bit more homework with your direction. And that might include an appraisal on the current property and the property that we're looking at.
So maybe then it's just a matter of then get the numbers around, like you are saying, get the numbers around.
But I think that what Danielle's saying is that would require you guys to make a motion to let us do those things.
Or I can get a cost of the appraisal and you give it to us later, but if you're wanting that information before we go into discussions, then I would need the motion tonight. If you're just wanting to know an appraisal is going to cost X amount of dollars at the next meeting and the site plan is gonna cost X amount. And if we were to look at this site, these are the things we would want to have done. And we think it's gonna cost X, then we can prepare that.
That's
without
what,
a
that's
motion.
what. So which one? Is that right?
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to think about how, so we're want to give them the direction to get more information via appraisals
Yeah. How
on
much
the,
of
on the various properties, and then we can decide what to do with it. Whether we want to go to closed session at that point to discuss.
That's what I understand.
That's what I'm understanding as well.
So you do want appraisals or you just
Yes.
want the cost of?
No, I want the appraisals. That's what I'm thinking.
you want us to pay for both?
Yes.
No. Okay.
Well,
normally-
we need to move. If it might behoove us to spend $1,000 now so that we're not going to spend thousands of dollars later.
I also would recommend that we fund an appraisal on, if you're looking at the proposed site and that we ask the interested party to fund the proposal on our current site. I mean,
That is normally how we would do it. However, if we're not willing to move forward, he would be wasting his money to have an appraisal on a site that we're not willing to sell. Does that make sense? Because if another property doesn't come available for another 2 years, he's gonna have to get a new appraisal. So normally, you are absolutely correct. The buyer pays for the appraisal. But I think this is a little bit different in the sense that we're asking him to buy something that we're not sure we're
But
gonna sell.
we're not asking him to buy something.
No, I mean to appraise. No.
Yeah, I understand where Laura's coming from, but it is our job to do what is in the best interest of the village. And if this person is truly serious about purchasing this property, then I think that they would be willing or not. And I think we need to ask that question, but I think it is the village's best interest to find an appraisal on something we're looking to buy, not something that we're looking to sell, but
You are correct.
I mean, ultimately it's.
But if it stops us from moving forward, if that's what stops us from moving forward, then we're very short-sighted.
Oh, I mean, certainly I'll ask.
Okay.
I'll ask.
And if we're at least willing to appraise
Mm-hmm.
what we're looking to purchase, then maybe the other buyer would be willing to, okay, if council's willing to step out this far, I will step out this far. But if we end up having to do it, at least we will know what we are dealing with. Even in the event of another potential buyer, at least we have an idea. And sometimes information costs money.
But you said, I mean, we are putting,
We
so
are
it's not like we're asking this person.
right to do something
to
that
do
we're not
something that
doing.
We're not.
Correct. Correct. But he's under no obligation just because we are. We're obligating ourselves.
Business.
It absolutely is business.
Then
What are we?
I'll pay the one, and they pay whoever else can pay the other one. It's either side, I don't care.
Sure. Oh, and it's absolutely it's business. There's no doubt about that.
All right.
So what are you guys gonna do?
It's clear as mud to me.
Yes.
Yeah, no, we're gonna-
What's,
Yeah.
what are we doing now?
I move that we direct staff to get an appraisal on the identified site and ask the potential purchaser of our DPW site to do the same. Is that clear enough?
I'll support.
Motion Ken, second Eric, for us to pay for appraisal on the proposed site and request the potential buyer to pay for the appraisal for the DPW site. Okay. Any further? Please call roll.
Bill,
Yes.
Gwen?
Yeah.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
No.
Ken,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carries. Further on that proposed site, ladies. No,
Numbers and we can make some decisions.
you want them to see quotes for planner.
Well, tell them.
Yeah, we're gonna get information on that. I don't know how long the appraisal will take either, so we'll work on trying to get it all together in one time so we can have a discussion and then. We'll work on it.
Moving back to old business. Consideration from the previous meeting, compensation for treasurer duties and for clerk and the administrator. We have just a short dialogue on that one last meeting. Into that discussion.
You want me to start? With this discussion?
No, or, no.
Okay. I'm good with that.
I've gone ahead, taking the liberty, you guys, of taking a look at some, a bonus for the administrator slash clerk. I have paperwork just because the motion is wordy. I'm just gonna pass that down. I thought this would give us a place to go ahead. And then Tim, if you wouldn't mind, pass this over there, one over to Lisa, please. Thank you. Pass over there, you know. I just thought this would give a, yes, go ahead. That can be one more. I
Thank
just
you
think this would
very
be a good place to
much.
start from, you guys. I didn't care for all the other stuff. Let me kind of backtrack for a minute. When we had talked before, we talked about a policy and I gave some more thought to the policy. And in my opinion, I don't think we need a policy for this. I liked what Mike had talked about, as I gave it more thought about the bonus kind of the aspect. So I just kind of did, like I said, some work here, just a place to get us started from. I have the first motion is taking both administrator / clerk to getting a stipend, and I'm not gonna read the motion, but you guys can see what's in the motion stating that the stipend would be equal to the 90%, is on one side, flip it over, and on the other side is gonna be a motion for an 85%. And the treasurer's base salary, and this was at the starting salary for the treasurer was 63,000, it was a 61,000 base. Village administrator suggestion that I have here, again, to get things discussed, starting is a 60% and 40% to the village clerk. And I was giving thought to starting as a retro, going back to February the 2nd, and it would go further to the duration until the treasurer vacancy has been completed. I'm looking now at the 85% side. If it's an 85% side, that would equate to $605 per week for the administrator, $403 per week for the clerk. My thoughts that I've stated about the dates, this action, in my opinion, and I think this is kind of where we're kind of coming up with some of our hitting and missing last time, would be specific to our current treasurer situation, current treasurer's vacancy, and shall not establish a precedent to create any ongoing compensation policy. Specifically, you're going to notice that in the motion, I have down the word or, and I just put that in there because I gave some more thought. I didn't want this to go ahead and go into other actions, meaning the DPW, the water, the wastewater plant, simply because it's a different kind of a salary kind of a situation. So in that motion is just simply saying that this is kind of like a temporary assumption for the duties of the treasurer due to that vacancy. This would not apply, this what I've got here would not apply for staffing shortages, would not apply for shift vacancies or any cross coverage or personnel absences. And they have stated specifically the police, DPW, or water. I don't know if that's being too micromanaged. I just thought I wanted to have the clarity so that I thought the clearer and better, my opinion. Again, the action is specific to the current treasurer vacancy, and it doesn't establish a precedent or any type of ongoing compensation policy. So those are the numbers I have for the 85, as I stated, and then on the other side there is for the 90%. I do think that our employees are worthy of that. Certainly, the audit is taking place right now. The administrator and clerk are both working on that material. We know how critical, how important that time frame is. I mean, I can go into a litany of things, but I don't think I really need to do that at this time. So that's my talking points.
I'm on board with, that's what I wanted. This is I saw it as a temporary solution to hopefully a non-recurring issue. And again, when you're spelling it out, it's for the treasurer vacancy, it could be a one-time thing. That's exactly what I had intended.
And it is a decrease of the actual
Yeah, we're still saving money from the long run, and the work is getting done.
the work of the absence. Yeah.
Yes.
In my opinion, it's just a matter of the 85% or the 90%.
I like it. And then again, Lisa, you cut the checks, you work with Danielle, make it work out to where behind the scenes, if you do it a one-time shot, as long as they don't take a huge chunk, or you do it, weekly, however you add it in there. But I agree. I think they should be compensated for the time that they've been serving in that capacity. Appreciate that.
I agree.
I'll make the motion for the 90%. You have to read all this or?
Well, I honestly don't know. It depends. I think, Tim, this is my opinion. If we're in the 90%, see the bold stuff and then see the word or. The or portion, I don't know how council feels about that. It's almost like we don't have to do that. But I didn't know if Danielle, you felt that the bottom portion underneath the or was more clear for you from an administrator point of view for the future, or if it's going to be sufficient above the or. I don't know, Lisa, if you have a point on that as well, of what you think will be clear for future councils that they go through.
You spell it out clearly in the
I
last
think so.
sentence in your first paragraph. It's for the duration of the treasurer vacancy, period.
The first paragraph should be sufficient.
I understand what you're saying, Tim.
That's the sense, I mean,
What do you think?
I also do. If something happens again,
And address it then.
get to you at that time to be addressed.
I do think that we should put in there, Tim, this is my opinion as well. I think we should be very clear of the effective retroactively as part of the motion as well.
so first and third paragraph.
Yeah,
You want me to read it?
I think we have to.
Okay. I'll move council to approve a temporary weekly stipend equal to 90% of the treasurer's weekly salary based on the current starting salary of $61,631.88 to be allocated 60% to the village administrator and 40% to the village clerk for the duration of the treasurer vacancy. This stipend shall be effective retroactively beginning February 2nd, 2026, and shall automatically terminate upon the official start date of a newly appointed treasurer. Very good. Support.
Motion Tim, second Ken, to approve a temporary weekly stipend equal to 90% of the treasurer's weekly salary based on the current starting salary of $61,631.88. Be allocated 60% to the village administrator, 40% to the village clerk for the duration of the treasurer vacancy. The stipend shall be effective retroactively beginning February 2nd, 2026, and shall automatically terminate upon the official start date of a newly appointed treasurer. Other questions, comments? All right, at least call roll.
Gwen,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill, Ken,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carried. Moving on, reports. Anything for the administrator from the administrator?
Nothing from.
I do have a question, Danielle. You had mentioned that Heather woman's name and how her business, I apologize, has who Heather works for. Helping you with the
Manor.
The treasurer. Oh, Heather with Manor Custodian.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm like, wow, Heather, I know so many.
I still remember what Manor Custodian.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Heathers. Thank you. My apologies. How are things? Have you reached out to her? She's very helpful. How is that going for you with the audit and things of that nature? How are you serious?
So I have tried to minimize reaching out to her. She did come when we talked to them about helping as on an as needed basis. She did come to the village office. We went through some things just to make sure we were able to meet each other. She was familiar with kind of what we were in process in, things like that. We got her remote access. We've been able to keep up on most everything. She is helping me with the bank reconciliations. I did include this in my weekly summary to you guys, but I spent a lot of time and cannot get a couple of our bank accounts our big bank accounts to balance. Water, sewer, our pooled and our payroll accounts, and was just really struggling with that. I was getting to the point where I just don't think I was seeing anything because I looked at it so many times. So I asked for help with that. She did find the water and sewer, why they're not balancing. I do also want to say this. I don't think nothing's missing. It's on my end and learning how to do it. And I think the transition of treasurers. So there were 4 journal entries that were pending and never, manual journal entries, they were never posted, which caused them not to balance. So I'm working on getting those entered so that we can get them properly posted. So then water and sewer will balance. She also is struggling a little bit with payroll. And I think part of that is because of our sweep account with the HRA for the health reimbursement account with the employees and their insurance. And she's not even tried the pooled savings consolidated one yet. She did help me, show me a couple tricks to help in the future with that. So I implemented that. I will teach the new person. It makes a world of difference. So just another best practice for us to use in the future. But again, I don't want to pay them too much if we can do the work, and we've been able to do most of it. So it just, I also don't want to spend 60 hours on one thing and getting nowhere.
No.
So. But she is, I really like her. She is really helpful. She has remote access to our systems. So she's able to work on the bank recs without bothering me too much, which then allows me to get some other things done, which is nice. Audit's going really well. I don't even, it's weird. I think they're being generous to us this year, maybe because they know that we're shorthanded. So they're being they've not requested as much as they have in the past. Not that they've requested nothing. And prior to Brandon leaving, he was able to submit quite a few things. So it's not like he had been kind of working on a little bit here and there. They did email me some stuff today. I got that over to them. We should have our final audit draft, it sounds like, here soon. It is due the end of this month. So as soon as I have the information, I'll be sharing it with you guys. I'll work on getting it filed with them. I was able to complete the DDA Act 57 annual report. I was really proud of myself that I figured that out. Because that's something that we usually do internally instead of paying the auditors. So I think it's going as good as it can.
But and having been helpful, you're learning from her.
Yeah.
And all of that. That's the big thing.
Yes. And I think we need BSNA training. There's like the new treasurer, me, Lisa, Maddie. It's becoming very apparent that we are underutilizing BSNA. And it's one of those things like we just don't know what we don't know. And I do think that going to a BSA training would be incredibly beneficial to our staff. So I am going to also be looking into the cost of that. BSA is starting to try to get people to switch to the cloud. They're no longer training their employees on .net, which is what we're on. So I am also working with them to get some pricing on going to the cloud, because it sounds like if we're going to go to training, it's going to be focused on that, and we didn't want to switch initially when it was brand new, so they could kind of work the bugs out. It sounds like they've done that. So I'll be kind of bringing a lot of information on that to you guys.
We're bringing a trailer here. Yeah. That if you go on to them, would it be? There's somebody here.
I don't know that. I can certainly look in. I've not really investigated what their training offerings are yet at this point. I guess I'm forewarning you that request is probably going to be coming. And especially for the new treasurer, I think would be really beneficial. I mean, we know enough to get around it and do what we need to do. But again, like Heather showed me something that I had no idea it even existed within the program. So, and it's super, super easy.
Okay, anything else for Daniel? The 223 potholes, obviously a lot of frustration. Got a lot of comments on that from people that experience some. I mean, what do we got to do?
By the ridge line.
So in front of downtown there.
Yeah.
You know, again, like you said before, they need to maintain that. The street light thing, I've been asking forever on that one. We've done drive out, or can we just have PD night officer to do it, get it done? Just gonna.
What's the request?
I mean, begging somebody to drive an audit of the streetlight footwork and what doing in town. I think it would make sense for a night officer. We will pull that off pretty easily throughout the week. Couple streets, they can document what's out, what's in.
Yeah, I had planned on doing that and honestly, I just.
I
did not do it.
It's just.
What do you think?
No.
There's been a couple times that I've been here and it's been dark and I'm like, I want to go home.
I can't blame you, I got a lot on your plate. And then finally, I've heard from a few residents and then here today, there's another one. So I think we need to get owners of Coach Lake back in here and talk about meters, et cetera, the maintenance. How they're being funded, who's paying for what, who owns what. So there've been quite a few broken meters due to the freeze and thaws this year on top of service line breaks, water main breaks. I said we have one today. So again, that's not metered. So again, it seems like, we're trying to appease the owners there, but I'm not sure it's balancing out for the village as a whole. So I think committee meeting, something like that, we should probably get back with them and say, we really need to work out these details. I hate to do it, but keep beating on it, but we gotta learn from. Well, not past, not necessarily mistakes, but more officials optimal for us, for the village. We do have the joint board training coming up, and we'll talk about the here. Anyone else, council?
No.
No.
Just, hey, Laura, I was at the farm market, saw that.
Mhm.
Kudos.
Okay.
I know that's been something on your radar for a little while.
For 4 years, we're finally doing it.
There you go, sister. Well done.
Yeah, we've got a lot of good info.
Well, regarding the treasure report, obviously we don't have a treasure. When are we looking at doing interviews, whatnot, going through those, Danielle?
I don't know when we're going to be doing interviews yet. We did our initial review of the applications. We are doing kind of a stepped approach. So we submitted 4 additional questions to get back first, and then we are set to meet up next. Monday or Tuesday? Tuesday.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday because Monday was a conference.
That's right.
Yeah, we have
Monday was the board.
our joint board meeting. So we're meeting Tuesday. And we'll hopefully be able to, I can share some more information. I know last week I did not get a weekly summary out. I'll be this week and I'll catch up and I will include any information that you hear on that.
Like to move forward on that, right?
Yes, we are.
EDA, we've got Laura here. Anyone questions on EDA? We did have a good turnout for country markets open. That was very
Yeah,
nice.
thank you all for showing up. It's great. They're very, very happy.
Any questions for Laura? She's here. Okay. Well, the comment, Jackie. With me.
Just for the record, I have 2
You gotta stand up. We'll talk to them like you're gonna.
Sorry, I stood on my.
She
Just for the
speaks.
record, toters are, I've been paying $75 for 3 or 4 years for 2. And I got my bill today and it went up to 78. But I have 2. I tried with the idea of canceling the one a year, maybe 2 years ago. And I said, no, I only want 1. They wanted $50 to come pick it up. So I did the math and I could have it for quite a while for $50. And I still have it.
Thanks, Jackie.
Leave it up to you, then. Huh? I don't use them.
I'd like to address them.
Yeah, please do, sir.
A couple weeks ago, the Advance ran an article about the crime stats in town, and I want to address this because it was an alarm that was unnecessarily raised by the article. It was misleading. As I explained to council when the annual report came out, our statistics had dropped a lot over the previous 2 years. What we saw last year was more in line with what we had seen previous to that. And as I stated at the time, some of that was attributed to the fact that we had our full-time midnight staff again.
So naturally, we're gonna see an increase in proactive arrests, such as drunk driving arrests, and that sort of thing. And better reporting and better tracking of statistics because, without the midnight officer, crimes that happened when that officer was working weren't being reported to the village because they were being taken by the sheriff. All this was explained in open session. The local reporter failed to address this and mention it when the article was written. In addition, he wrote in the article that I was unavailable for comment. I called the reporter, and what he told me was that he called the office at 1:15 in the afternoon and gave me a 2-hour window to call him back. Well, unfortunately, I don't sit in my office waiting for the reporter to call me. So unfortunately, I could not respond and clarify and correct his information. It was a very slanted story, and I was really disappointed in the advance for writing the article the way they did. I just wanted to address that.
Made a very valid point. I
But
read
that
it
is
as
it.
well.
This week.
I read the article as well. I did not think that put our village in the place that it should have been put in.
It was slanted.
The school resource officer too has done a lot more
Oh, yeah.
job, right? You said documenting.
Yeah, we had a conversation early part of last year about documenting the instances when he was called. Not necessarily where action was taken, but where they called him to be present. And I had told them that I wanted those instances documented. Not so that we could have a staff or something like that. But it covered a lot of bases. One, it does protect the officer in the village from any potential liability exposures because we have documented what happened. It also does underscore the necessity for the SRO and how valuable that position has become to the entire village. And Officer Hunkley has just knocked that out of the park. That is a home run all day long. And I'm so proud of the work he's doing out there. The reports I get back from students and parents. I didn't know this, but one of the parents told me that he does story time with the kids who read stories and does voices. And I asked him about this. He went, "Oh yeah." I'm like, that's incredible. That's great. And I have to hear about this informally because he undersells it a lot of times, but he does a fantastic job out there. But the documentation improved over the past year. And again, it's just an evolution. It's a newer position. We've fine tuning some things, and we're in a really good spot. But when we do a report, there has to be a title on the report, and that's what counted as call for service. So it's obviously we're going to see a spike in those documented instances as well. And had I been given ample opportunity to address the issue. All right.
Documentation and data.
Oh yeah.
Always key.
Oh yeah.
Always key.
Thank you. So again, committee of the whole, leverage on board training on March 16th, always a very formative, good night. So good. So very good training, very good trainer.
Do we need to have presentations like PowerPoint and any of, I know we've done it in the past. Are we supposed to be looking at something like that this year?
So it is the same structure it has been the last couple of years. We'll have training first, and then each board will be given an opportunity to introduce themselves, share anything they accomplish and goals they want to work on. We're not required to do a PowerPoint. I know in the past the boards have done that. You certainly can. Completely up to you guys. We will have the projector set up if you want to do a PowerPoint. I was going to bring that up at Parks and Rec tomorrow. I know Patty created one for Planning Commission. I don't think the last couple of years, you guys have really used your council goals as kind of your talking points. And I think Mike was willing to kind of be the speaker for you guys as he did last year. Correct. Right.
Sure.
Okay. And I'm not sure what.
We are not doing a PowerPoint. I just want to say that right now. Our group is getting up and they're each gonna say something, but yeah, nobody cares.
I did send an email out to you guys with a link as well.
Nobody cared. I hope they. No, they care, but nobody wants, we're tired at that point. Nobody, like, don't do a big, huge thing. Okay. I Parks and Rec were pretty late. Maddie is an overachiever and we're just gonna let her be an overachiever. Okay.
I did send out an email with a link that if you guys could go to that link, it's got some directions, but it's just a little quiz thing. There's no wrong answers. It's not a test. But training is going to be on communication. So you'll fill that out, and then if you want to bring that with you to your training, you can, and it's just for you guys. You don't have to share it with anybody if you don't want to. If you want to, great. But you'll take a minute to do that this week too, please.
Bill's already looking at it.
We want to congratulate the bowling team.
Yeah.
The bowling team and being state champs. That was pretty cool. That was neat that Sid mentioned that as well in his prayer. I want to do, especially bring attention to that. It's cool.
That's cool.
All right, anything else, council? Not entertain motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 8:06 p.m.
I will support.
Motion Bill, second Eric to adjourn at 8:06 p.m. Please call roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Gwen.
Yeah.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill, Mike.
Yes. Period.
Got it. It's way back.